Welcome to the Growth Guys Podcast, presented by KinderReeseCoaching.com. This is the #1 podcast for real estate agents who are serious about growing their business. Get the strategies and tactics to grow your business fast while building the lifestyle you dream of. Now, sit back, buckle up, and get ready, because we're about to get real. The Growth Guys Podcast starts right now.
Broadcast. What's going on, buddy?
What's up? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to everybody out there on Facebook and everybody joining our call today. First Ask the Growth Guys episode of the new year. Man, it's so funny, dude. Look at this shirt you're wearing.
Hey, look at this.
We didn't even practice.
I know. I didn't even talk to you today.
That awesome. Is funny.
It's been hanging, like, I got like this 2 sections of my closet, right? And I got all my shirts here. And then over here, I got like dress shirts. And then I usually throw up there like what I want to, like, hey, I want to wear this the next day or two or whatever. It's been hanging there like for like a week. I was like, shit, give me that. It's cold outside. I'll put this on.
Yeah, it's like, you don't want to wear it too soon. Then, you don't want to be too eager. It's not like I'm finishing, I want to, hey, no big deal. No big deal. Oh, I forgot I even had it. I forgot I even had that shirt. Jeez.
But you got to wear it before it becomes old, right? You don't want to be, the 2018 finisher shirt.
What's funny is when we went and picked up our packets, and they had that, area where you could buy a bunch of stuff. They had these tubs that were full of like random shirts, basically your throwaway shirts, like when you're running or whatever. Yeah. And they were shirts from races across the world from all kinds of different years, and like kind of cool. Like, oh man, that's cool. But me personally, I could never buy and wear a shirt that I didn't run in. Right?
I didn't earn it.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't earn it. I didn't put that work in for that shirt or that trophy.
So speaking of putting some work in, man, we're off to a new year. I guess, I just got back, man, putting some work in. I got back from traveling to Colorado, New Mexico in an RV. And we had a cabin once we got there, so we didn't have to sleep in the RV or anything the whole time. But it was a good time, man. It was an experience driving the RV in icy and snowy conditions. I was taking a risk. Even on our cabin, they said in the winter you need 4-wheel drive to access it. I'm like, I got this RV, it's got good power. It's a new one. It'll be all right. And it was a little sketchy, I'll tell you. And then we stayed at the ski resort on New Year's Eve. And just a quick story, nobody, that doesn't have anything to do with real estate, but we spent the night New Year's Eve in the parking lot of Purgatory, which is the ski resort. We got there early and we're having a good time going to dinner and hanging out and doing all those festivities. When we got there, the base camp parking lot really was relatively empty. So we got us a nice spot, nobody around us with the RV. Worst comes to worst, because it's about 45 minutes to the cabin. Worst comes to worst, at the end of the night, we just come back to the RV, hang out in the parking lot, turn the heaters on and everything, and we're good to go, And so that's what we did. And I remember going to bed, turning everything off in the trailer. We're the only thing in this parking lot. We wake up in the morning, peek out the thing. There's just cars everywhere. Everywhere. And now we're like blocked in. People have parked in front of me and in back of me in such a way that it's tight for me to get out. And it started snowing. It'd been snowing all night, so the ice is terrible. So I'm trying to get out of there. To make a long story short, I can't get out. There's an incline. I get stuck. I can't get the RV out. I got people trying to get out that I'm blocking, so it's just becoming a shit show.
Right.
Real quick. And then there's another guy in front of me who has a van, and he can't get out, thankfully. I don't feel so bad. I got this big RV. He can't get out in this van, so okay, not so bad. He asked the parking people to help him out. He is able to get out, and they laid down some sand for me, and I was able to get out no problem, amazingly, once they laid down that sand. But, man, that was the only part that was a little sketchy, really, with the ice and driving the RV. But I wouldn't recommend it probably, unless you got some chains.
No, that doesn't sound like much fun.
No. It was an adventure, though, man. It was fun. You know what I mean? Once we made it out.
Yeah.
All right.
What up, Dean? Happy New Year.
Dean, man, we got to get some time on the calendar. If you'll send me, I don't know why that link's not working. If you just, shoot me an email and send me like 3 times that work for you this week, the 3 soonest available times that work for you, and we'll get something on the calendar.
Sweet. Hey, so I saw something yesterday. I hadn't talked to you, and you have set a pretty big, hairy, audacious goal for 2020 on the physical side of things.
20 miles.
Man, I started breaking that down, and I was like, holy shit.
It's not that bad. It's 5.4 miles a day. I believe it comes down to like 5.4 miles a day or something.
You got to run every day.
I mean, not necessarily. I'm working on this. I'm trying to refine this strategy 3x5, 2x10. And so what that would mean is I run three. So what is it? 3x5. So 3 5-mile runs during the week, and then 2x10. So 2 10-mile runs then on the weekend. Even if it was 1 20-mile run, you know what I mean? But the 3x5, 2x10, if I can do that, then that gets me there, no problem. That's well over, I think it's 38 miles a week is what it averages out to, 38 miles a week.
Right? 20 divided by 52, 38.8. So 39 miles a week.
There you go.
39?
Yep. And I figure that I'll probably end up doing like one of those ultras in March or something. And so, you know,
that'll get you that extra distance.
Give me the extra distance. I registered for the hot chocolate on February 8th, the 15K hot chocolate run. By the way, they have the best swag apparently. So, you know,
where is that at?
Here in Dallas. I can't even remember where it is now, but check it out. It's the hot chocolate race. It's like a good one. They've done it for 15 years. And if you Google all this stuff, they have the best swag. So you get a jacket. Like I had to pick out my size for a jacket.
Impressive.
$69 for the 15K. So I'm going to do that. And so if
that's
I
even the crazier shit, right? You know, we pay to go punish ourselves through this.
Yeah, I know. Right. Man, so that's what I'm doing. So, but you know what I mean? I mean, it broke it down to the numbers. It does sound crazy, 2020. At first I wanted to do 1,000. And I'll tell you the real deal is I wanted to do 1,000. And I was like, well, that's too low. I already did from March to this year. I basically averaged 20 miles a week. And if I did that over the course of a year, well, hell, that's over 1,000 right there. So I wasn't really stretching any by picking 1,000. So then I said 1,500. Although in my whole time, originally, I just wanted to say 2,000. In my heart, I wanted to say 2,000. And then I tried to talk myself off of it. I was like, no, let me see what 1,000 is. No, that's too easy. All right, well, what about 1,200? Well, I don't like the sound of 1,200. It seems like you're just trying to do a little bit more than 1,000. And I'm like, well, what about 1,500? I think I went to 2,000 first, and then I mathed it out, and I was like, oh, God, that like you, man, that's every day. Yeah, I got to run 5 miles every day. I don't know if I want to. So then let me see what 1,500 is. So then I did 1,500, and then in the time I was doing the math for 1,500, I was like, you know what? Like, this is the prime. I know I want to do 2,000. I should do 2,000. Here's a prime example of me trying to make it safe for myself. I'm worried about not hitting the goal of 2,000. So I'm trying to adjust my goal down to be safe. And so I said,
that's a great point.
You know, so I said, screw it. I'm just going to do the 2,000. And so then I was doing the 2,000, doing the math. And I was like, oh, what the hell's 20 more miles? 2020? I mean, let me just make it 2020. And that's literally the thought process that I went through to do it. And then I did the numbers so that it's not so daunting. Okay, 5.4 miles a day. Yeah, that's crazy, but it doesn't mean I have to run every day. It's 38 miles a week. You know, so if I could get 15 miles in on the weekend, or 20 miles in on a weekend, then that's only a couple 3-mile runs during the week. That means I still get 2 days off. It's not that bad.
Yeah. So one, I got a question for you, but what you made me think of, and I mean, it's the classic example of what everybody goes through when it comes to trying to get clear on the things that you want to accomplish. Right. And what you did, and just want to kind of put some context to this for everybody listening in, is that you have your baseline, right? You have current reality. Current reality for you is 1,000 miles a year, no big deal. You're already doing 20 miles a week. You hit that. That's your current reality. And then you start to set this big, hairy, audacious goal of whatever it is, right? And it's the same thing we do with all of our coaching clients is, where do you want to go? Where are you at? And then that way we can put the plan in place from here to there. But, and there's two key factors, and we'll talk through that in just a second. But what a lot of people do, and you were doing it in your mind, is, well, shit, man, that's uncomfortable. So let me lower it here. 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 And then all of a sudden you're back to your current reality and you haven't done nothing to grow. So it's, what the hell do you want to do? When do you want to do it by? And most people will jump to the last part first. They jump to, well, how in the hell am I going to do that? That's wrong, right? That's the wrong sequence, right? Right things, right order. And so it's, here's where I'm at. Here's where I want to go. I want to do it by December 31st, 2020. And the next big component, and this is my question for you. And this is the lesson, everybody listening in. Why the hell do you want to do
that? Yeah. I don't know. No, you know what I'll tell you, I'll tell you what it is, man. It's dopamine and it's endorphins. Those are the two things. There's 4 chemicals that run the body. Yeah. And dopamine and endorphins are what they call the selfish chemicals. If anybody's read Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last, that's where this philosophy comes from. Great book. But, it's because when that dopamine and that adrenaline and maybe endorphins, it's dopamine and endorphins, but those are like the things that make us want to go be goal oriented. They're the things that give us some reward when we achieve something. They're what were meant originally to get us fired up to go hunt and kill something that we could bring back to the tribe and feed them. When I didn't want to go hunt, the dopamine and the endorphins would provide me the incentive to go do it. And so why? I'm not doing it for the jacket. I mean, I might be doing it for the medal. Sure. But at the end of the day, it's the medal makes me have a chemical release at the same time. So at the end of the day, I'm doing it because it makes me feel good. Bottom line.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's an important factor for all of you guys listening in. You've got to figure that out, because when it gets tough, because it will get real tough. It always does. And this is a lesson, same lesson in our business. It's going to get hard. It's going to get tough. And you've got to always fall back on, well, why in the hell am I doing this in the first place? And if you don't have a strong enough why, you're going to let yourself off the hook and you're going to lower yourself back down to your current reality. And so, like, for example, I shared this with you doing my first Ironman. My why was super, super strong. And I remember in chanting this talk. This was the self-talk on the run portion of the Ironman. And even during some of the training is like, I did it for my kids, right? I wanted my kids to be able to say my dad's an Ironman. And so, like, part of that run of Ironman, I was like, I would think through every one of my kids, and I would just picture them saying, my dad's an Ironman. I would picture Caitlin saying, my dad's an Ironman. Zach saying, my dad's an Ironman. Zane, my dad's an Ironman. And I would just that self-talk that pushes you through hard things. So it's like, figure out what the hell you want to do, where you're at, where you want to go, when you want to get there by, why you want to do it. And then we can figure out how, right? It's like you've got that. And then your how is like, well, it's simple, man. I'll do a 3x5. I'll do a 2x10. I'm going to do a couple big races. That'll get me the over the miles, and I'm going to hit 2020. No problem. Right. You've already got, that's the how. I mean, I got it. I figured it out, but you have to do the right things in the right order to be able to get to that point. So yeah, it's just great lesson for everybody listening in when you're setting those targets, those big, hairy, audacious goals, anything that you're trying to accomplish, closing the gap on anything, whatever it is. That's a great format to help you to get clear on exactly how, what it is that you're going to crush.
I think the how is the easiest part.
It is the easiest part. Most people want to jump right to it. You know what I mean? Most people want to go right to the how. And they sometimes don't set a clear deadline. And sometimes, a lot of the times they don't figure out, they don't really know why. And one of the biggest, man, and I see that, and we talk about this, at boot camp and through productivity training and getting clear on our targets, is making sure it's your goal. I see so many times that people piggyback and jump on other people's, oh, I like that. I'll just do that with you. Right. Hey, remember that movie? I think it was The Italian Job. Remember where?
Watched it recently.
Yeah, where he took everybody's goal, right?
Yeah,
Because he didn't have a goal himself. He just, I'll just do that. I'll do that. I'll do that. Right. So it just makes me think of, you know, what I mean, why? I mean, that's somebody else's goal. I mean, now if you want to make that your goal, then why? Why do you want to be part of your goal at your core? Not because somebody else is doing it or your best friend's doing it or your buddy's doing it. You better have.
I think in an example, you know, and just to share, you know, my personal situation with you guys running this race on the 18th. That wasn't that, you know, that was my goal. And I mean, yeah. I could totally jump on and I could be influenced by you guys and it being cool for us to all do it together and everything. And I'm just one of those people that's not, you know, I always like, if there's a bunch of people doing it, I tend to be like, oh, I don't want to do it. Yeah. Then, you know what I mean? I'm just always trying to go the opposite way, which isn't necessarily good. But in that case, you know, I remember going through like, damn, I want to go. Cause you know, Reese, like he texts me up and don't want to say no. Like I want to show up. I want to yeah. And everybody else is doing it. He got like 6 or 8 people to, you know, fly into town to do it and everything. But, you know, it would have not been my thing then. And it would have been something that, you know, and it's not this bad. You gotta, you know, agitate people to move to do something sometimes. But, you know, like I told you, as soon as I told you 3 weeks ago, well, there's one in March and I'm, you know, so I'd already scoped out when I could probably do it under my terms, you know, do it under my terms. And so like, do it under your terms and don't, you know, if I'm trying to reach somebody else's goal, there's a good chance I won't do it. I set myself up for failure before I even start. Here goes the click whirl of the tape and the negative stuff that you're telling yourself versus, you know, pick your goal regardless. And you got a much better chance of hitting it and be honest with yourself. And you know what I mean? Yeah. If I would have picked 2020 last year as my goal to run miles, just because you ran 2 Ironmans last year. If I said, I'm going to go run 2 Ironmans this year because Kitchens did, I'm not going to do it. I'm not prepared to do it. I easily could bite off more than I can chew, which is going to feel like a loser and a failure. And I might not even run anymore. Right.
That's the thing too, right? And how I think this carries over on the real estate side of things that we see is chasing transactions. And, you know, you see these people that are, you know, pushing larger, more and more transactions. And if you're not clear on, you know, if you just immediately go after the transaction count, it's usually, you know, it's an egotistical target that you're going after. And so when, you know, anybody says, man, I want to do 1,000 transactions or I want to do 500 transactions, you know, my first question is why? You know, what's the goal? What are we trying to accomplish? What does that number of transactions unlock? What does that mean? And, you know, a lot of people, they don't, I like the number. I'm like, then you ain't going to ever freaking hit the number because you don't understand what that entails, what it's doing, what it's unlocking. And, you know, it's just like, what did Brent Gove say to everybody in Cincinnati? Remember, he's like,
some of you in this room need to do selling homes.
Yeah. Some of you in this room need to do fewer transactions and focus on the thing that really matters. And it was really powerful what he was saying. Now, don't get me wrong. If somebody has the aspirations, they want to do 1,000+ transactions because it does unlock something else that they're pursuing in the grand scheme of things, then by all means, let's go get it. Right. Let's go get it. That's the whole thing. And I just hope everybody understands that point. It's like, make sure you're chasing your goal for your reason that is unlocking something bigger down the road and not doing it just because somebody else is doing it or, you know, it's just an egotistical target.
Yeah. I think, you know, like in the way I think of it, you know, somebody told me a long time ago in sales, they said, do you want to raise? And I said, yes. There were two times. And one they said, I think I told you this before, our director of field operations came by and said, "Hey, Jeff, you want to raise this year?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "We'll start making some more dials." Because based on your numbers, here's how many deals you close based on how many contacts and prospectuses or whatever you're sending out. And so all you have to do to make X more money is to make these many more dials, which will get you this, and boom. So, man, it's there for you. Go get it. All right, whatever. Damn, I thought you were going to just hand me something without having to work for it. Or because I sold some stuff yesterday. You know what I mean? Every salesperson, because I sold some stuff, you love me, man. Give it to me. And then the other time was just ask for more money. And that was the biggest game changer. I mean, I would be talking to you about making an investment, let's just say of $100,000. And you could do a half unit, which was $50,000. You could do a quarter unit, which is $25,000. And if you're weak and you're not a closer, I'm not even going to talk to you about the 100K. I'll be like, Kitchens, this is great. It's $100,000 a unit, but you can start off with 25 to get your feet wet. You know what I mean? I just shot myself in the foot right there. You didn't tell me you couldn't afford $100,000. Because I'm too scared to ask you for it because I'm measuring my wallet against yours. I can't ask you for the 100K because I'm scared shitless. So I'm going to cut myself.
What it is? Is that what it is? Is it,
for the most part.
Insecurities? Is it just lack of confidence? What is it?
100%. That's what it is. It's measuring your wallet against theirs. It's thinking that they're in a position at the high ivory tower that you're not, and therefore you don't have the right to ask them whether they want to invest $100,000 or whether they want to list their home with you. They're in the high ivory tower, so you're scared to ask them if they've met with any other agents. Because you picture them and position them as the person with the power, you're scared to ask them, if I come out there on Tuesday and everything we talk about sounds okay, are you ready to list your home with us? It's because you've put them on this platform to where they have the control, you need them. That's why in sales, you take somebody who's already got the money in their pocket, they can close anybody because they don't need it. Hey, listen, Kitchens, I've got 3 units left, or we've got 3 other offers on the table. I need to know within 2 hours if you're serious. If you're not, it's no big deal. There's plenty of other homes on the market. Bye. That will make you far more money than saying, what can I do, John? What can we do? Because the fact that you don't care and you do walk with a different swagger when you've got 20 deals closing for the month, you know what I mean, or whatever. But going back to that, the asking for more money. So, and we were paid 10% rips. So on a $25,000 investment, I make $2,500. On the $100,000 investment, I make $10,000. So when I said they're $100,000, but you can start your foot off, get your toe wet, $25,000, I just cut myself out of $7,500.
Yep.
All I have to do is say, and here's where we really did it. Is we'd have people that would do units. So $100,000, you're qualified, you liquid, you can handle that. Yes, I could do it. So when it comes time and we're going through paperwork and I say you're going to do a unit, all I started doing was saying, hey, why don't you do 2? Right. Well, I can't do 2. Damn, but I can do 1.5.
Right.
Oh my God, I just made $5,000 more, and all I did is say, hey, why don't you do 2? Or, you know what I mean? I just asked for more money. And so going back to what we were talking about, sometimes, units is just the vehicle, right? It's not the destination. The units is usually the vehicle that's going to get you to a destination. There are other vehicles. For instance, what if you just focused on properties that were at a higher price point? Could you get to the destination and then the units wouldn't matter? I wouldn't need 1,000 units. Maybe I could get there with 750. Maybe I could start charging a transaction fee. Maybe I could get to that destination by using a combination of different vehicles. And so what I think, don't get so concentrated on the vehicle. If you're chasing units, you might be chasing the wrong thing. You know what I mean? Or there might be another vehicle to get you to the destination. If the destination is $100 million, it doesn't mean there's no units. There's no black and white units answer to $100 million, because what are the price of those units and all these other different factors, right? So you can't just say, if you're just saying, I want to do this number of units, I kind of then, I'm suspect. I'm going to go to why then, what's the total number?
Right.
And why does it have to be that? And why does it have to be that number of units?
Yeah. What are we trying to accomplish? And ultimately, we need to be looking at, profit goal, right? What's the profit target?
That's what I wrote right here, man. It's people are too worried about the units versus the net profit or the net commission. That's what I don't care if I do 2 units. Look at these people. There's, in Beverly Hills that maybe do 3 units. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But their net commissions is money. And so, hey, man, I used to say, I don't care if you set me 1 appointment or you set 10 appointments. I'd much rather have 1 appointment that closes versus 10 that don't. So, it's the quality, right? It's the net profit. And that's what you should be looking at.
So true. And that's the most important thing, the thing that we need to really, really hone in on. What is the profit target that we're looking to hit? Can't take transactions to the bank. So you want to make sure that we're being as profitable as we can. And if it's the profit target, what are all the ways to get there? And you can look at it just like you said, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had a great conversation with an agent yesterday, and it's like, transaction fees, not yet. Vendor support, vendor money, not yet. I was like, shit, you don't need to do more deals. You just need to incorporate those 2 additional revenue streams, and you probably put an extra 100,000 in your, add 100,000 to your revenue stream. If you don't spend any more expense, that's money straight to your bottom line. So, it's just, what are all the ways that we go about increasing the average transaction price, right? That's one of the handful of ways to grow any business, is increase the sale price. Just like you said, right? You're able to collect more if your average is 100,000 versus 25,000. You're going to get
ask for more money. You want to raise? Ask for more money. Go find go focus on a different neighborhood.
Yeah.
Sure. If it's available, or if that's not an option, you find a different vehicle, a transaction fee. And man, and I can talk about an agent who's just west of us out there in New Mexico, in the last 30 days implemented transaction fees, got over the hurdle in his mind about how difficult it would be, hasn't had anybody tell him no. And it's just that simple. I mean, he just decided to do it. And within a week or 2, it was bearing fruit. By the way, that same team I talked to this morning, and we had talked before the year's end about making calls New Year's Day. And so we had a plan that they were going to call some Red X expireds and stuff on New Year's Day, while they'd be able to get people home, taking advantage of the fact that people have probably had a conversation with their family over the Christmas dinner table, or they've talked about it amongst each other rolling into the new year, that we're finally going to pull the trigger on doing this, that, or the other. Plus, you got all those people that expired from, June, July, August, September. Those people expired. They said they weren't going to relist until the next year because it wasn't the best time in the market or whatever, the holidays. So now those people have just had that conversation again. So, honey, we're going to get that home on the market this time and get it sold this year. And nobody else is calling on New Year's Day. And so I can take advantage of that. And so they got 2 listing appointments on New Year's Day.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, man. Just definitely this time of the year, you can make up so much ground by just putting in a little bit more effort. I mean, really, yep. December and kicking off into January is like effort measurement is the measurement to pay attention to this time of the year.
I mean, they've taken 6, I believe about, 6 or 8 new listings in the last 45 days. All brand new business that they created out of thin air by prospecting.
Yeah. Cold business, cold traffic, cold opportunities, not somebody that knows you, likes you, loves you, trusts you, that you're kind of sitting back on your heels waiting for them to, come ringing your doorbell.
Yeah, man, there ain't nobody knocking at my door. ain't nobody knocking at my door.
For sure.
But you got to get out there and find that business. You got to be able to make business out of thin air. And go ahead.
What, man, what else are, you're working in, diving in there at this point is really key, for everybody to kind of hone in on, at this point?
Man, I would say your follow-up strategies. Right now what I'm working with a lot of agents on is making sure that we have those campaigns dialed in. Do you have your thank you cards? Order them today. Vistaprint, freaking free. You know, I mean, I think I give you 100 free or whatever. There's no excuse not to have it. Every single nurture that goes out, is there a process? Do you have, if you have a team, you know, a printout so that everybody knows exactly what the process is? You know, create your standard operating procedures. Right now, over the next 60 days, you can take advantage of maybe some free time, you know, or you might have a little bit more time to focus on those things than you will 60 days from now. And you don't want to be trying to do it at the same time that you're trying to serve business. So I'd be taking advantage right now, making sure you got all that stuff dialed in, you know, and what's the strategy? Are you sending out a thank you card? Do you have your tear sheets? Do you have a testimonial sheet? Do you have testimonials? Do you have an email driving people to your site to register and create a profile so that you can start tracking your activity? Do you have market updates? And once I have all that and I know what my assets are, do I have a campaign that delivers that information in a high consumable recipe over a period of time? Do I have the first 3 months built out? So if I get a January nurture, that person has got 3 months of built out campaigns to drip on them up until the end of the first quarter. You know, at least, do I have at least a 90-day campaign that I can set it and forget it? That would be number one for me right now, because it's so hard to do that when you're in the middle of, you know, peak season. And so that's what I was preaching in November and December for people that weren't super busy. Take this time right now to get all that stuff dialed in so we're not doing it later. Plus, you had the opportunity right now of calling your clients, calling your database. You have a reason to call. Happy New Year. Hey, by the way, do you know anybody who has plans to purchase or sell any real estate this year? Hey, since I've got you on the phone, I know we did a great job for you last year helping you find that home. Would you mind just jotting down a few words or recording a short video to share your experience working with us? You know, if you don't have any testimonials, now is a great time to do it, because you can call on the basis of Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, just wanted to touch base. We're going to have some get-togethers this year. You still have the right contact info for them. And by the way, would you mind if I sent you a form, or if I did a Zoom call with you? Or matter of fact, while I've got you on the phone right now, if you're using Mojo, for instance, or something that records your phone calls, you know, or do you have anything you could share with me about your experience? And then I could take that phone call MP3, transcribe it, turn it into a printed testimonial. So there's no excuse not to get the testimonials. We just went over how to do it, and the premise. It's weird. What am I going to do? Call them and ask them? Well, right now you can leverage the fact that it's a brand new year to get your foot in the door.
Man, you know, 100%. I think one of the key pieces in there that is it's just an old school differentiator, and so many people don't do it, is get those handwritten thank you cards out. Get them out, man. It's like one of the most powerful things that you can do from a connection standpoint. And at this point in time, it's a differentiator, because ain't nobody doing it. Everybody's freaking lazy. They're not taking the time to get those handwritten thank you cards and getting them out. So it's really, really powerful, man, to take, you know, that 60, 90 seconds to write that out, throw it in there. It's worth the time. It's worth the stamp. Get it out, get it in the mail. It'll have a lasting impact on the people that you've talked to.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking, man, I had this thing. So I'll tell you, you know, first, I mean, if you've ever gotten one, I don't know anybody who's ever gotten one that wasn't like, man, that is cool. You go to a nice steakhouse, Notorious, you know, good ones will do that. You go shopping at a nice men's or women's clothing store or something, you get the thank you card, and it makes an impression. You tell me if you've ever gotten one that it didn't make an impression. I don't know anybody that could tell me different. And so I'm going to tell you, Andy Frisella, you know who he is?
Yeah.
So the MF CEO product and everything. And so I've bought a couple of his T-shirts. I get the T-shirt in this package, and I open it up. Handwritten note, bro. Handwritten note, not by him, somebody on his team or whatever, but scribbled in pen, bad handwriting. It's just written on the invoice, on the receipt invoice itself. It's like as casual as all get out. I think the last one said, hey, man, hope you love this shirt. You know, this 100 to 0 shirt is awesome. Thanks for following us. You know, boom. And that was it. But handwritten with a pen, you could tell. And it's just, you know, and what it does, it releases those chemicals, man. like I go back, man, we work on chemicals, and what that does is it releases that dopamine and it releases those endorphins and it makes you feel good. And when you have that chemical release, that anchors to what caused it. Now I'm in love with this dude. I literally had chemical release and it bonded. You know what I mean? That's really what happens. You get bonded through that chemical release when somebody does it. And it's nostalgic, man. I mean, when's the last time somebody wrote you a letter? I mean, if I got one, it would anchor. I could then remember. If somebody sent me a letter, I could have told you right now when it was and who it was, because it would have made me had this nostalgic feeling and it would have anchored and been memorable, right? The reason you can't remember the last time somebody wrote you a letter is not because it wasn't memorable, it's because it ain't fucking happened.
Right. It changes your self-worth for the person receiving it too. So I think of, I get into I don't do it every time. I do it when the service is phenomenal. But on the receipt, when I'm signing the receipt, I'll always write, if the service was incredible, if it was an awesome experience, if they did great, I'll always write something on the receipt. And I remember doing this when I did the New York City Marathon, and first marathon, and I had my dad there for the first time he's ever been to New York. And so after the race, man, I'm banged up, right? My knee is jacked, IT band locks up mile 11. So 11 all the way in was a nightmare. Can't walk rest of the way. We had to get one of those little buggies, the guy pedaling through, Manhattan down through Times Square. And, we find a steakhouse that's a couple blocks away. So get in, take a little some celebratory cocktails and get ready, and we head over to the steakhouse. And the guy, the waiter was he was nonchalant, and he was really professional. It was a really nice steakhouse, nice place. And so we're celebrating, just having a great time. Really, the guy is really he's not emotional. He's doing a good job. He's doing a great job. And I write sign the bill. Normal tip, maybe about 20%. Nothing extravagant. You know what I mean? And I just write a nice little thank you for making it a magical experience. My dad's first time in New York City. Just really appreciate, you doing a phenomenal job, making this dinner really memorable, and really thank you for that. And just throw it on the table. And we get up, we leave, we walk outside, and I'm just kind of standing there, and not doing it intentional. I just standing there with my dad, talking to my dad and Holly, and I just happened to glance and see the waiter, and he comes over and he grabs it, and just kind of watching him just to see. He goes over and gets over to the to the computer, and he finally opens it up, and he just stops, and he shuts it, and he turns and he looks back through the door, right? He's like looking for us, and he it changed everything. I was like, I didn't do it for that. I did it because I genuinely appreciated the experience that he gave us after that magical day, that moment, the why we went there, my dad. And that just showed me the power of when somebody, we do it, how we feel, but it changed his whole demeanor. It changed everything. It was like the biggest smile that I'd ever seen the entire time we were there. And it was just a reminder of, sometimes we need to stop and tell people how much we appreciate them and tell them thank you, because it does make a difference.
Man, the greatest power we probably have is the ability to affect other people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's the most misused one, because we throw shit around, we say stuff, we take everything for granted because it doesn't, 1% of what we do affects us. Probably, you know what I mean? The ripple effect that affects everybody we never even see. And so, yeah, man, I love that.
Yeah, it was cool,
I
man.
love that.
It was really awesome. So, if you guys aren't taking advantage of the handwritten cards anywhere in your process, anywhere from the appointment, having a conversation, even if you don't set the appointment, you create a nurture, you set the appointment, you do business. I mean, what do they, like, they did a whole deal on Peyton Manning, right? Like Peyton Manning, like, writes handwritten letters to players. And, they talk about that and the power, the impact that has on them. I mean, could you imagine getting a nice handwritten letter from Peyton Manning? If you're a professional athlete playing football or whatever, man, that thing would be framed and on the wall for me.
Yeah. Right.
So that's phenomenal. What are you reading right now?
That leaders eat last, and a couple other things. I can't remember the other ones. I just recently got some new ones. But cool. Leaders eat last is the last one that I had listening to, and that was good, man. I would just point out the fact, takeaway for anybody who hasn't read it, go out and get it. Simon Sinek, you mentioned him a lot. He wrote the Power of Why, or what is it? Start with Why. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But Leaders Eat Last, and he references the theme, not really the theme. The comparison that he uses throughout the book is the U.S. military. And he uses that as an example of how great leaders, can act and what they look like, and maybe some negative aspects also. But the Leaders Eat Last, where that comes from, is he bases these comparisons on specifically the Marine Corps. And he mentions that if you ever go to a Marine barracks or cafeteria, you will notice that the lowest recruits, the brand new lowest on the totem pole cadets, always eat first. And it's the generals, the people of the highest status and rank eat last. And that's done on purpose to illustrate the fact that it's a team, and it's those that are at the top with a higher rank's responsibility to ensure that the people below them with a lower rank eat. Right. And then going back to, the movie 300?
Yes.
Built on the Battle of Thermopylae, and so on. And so with the Spartans, the punishment for losing your shield on the battlefield was basically death. There was no punishment if you lost your sword, if you lost whatever else, no punishment. But if you lost your shield, punishable by death. The reason being is that you used your sword, you used your helmet to protect yourself, but the shield was able to protect the rest of your people, your tribe. And together, all those shields locked together could create one big shield, right? And so when you think about you as a leader, are you eating last? Are you focused on holding on to your sword and your helmet, and you're dropping your shield when things get rough? You know what I mean? Are you going to take the hit on your shield, or are you going to stab with your sword? Sometimes It's like, man, it's better off for me to stab with my sword. Is it?
Right.
And so that's what I was just listening to yesterday, man. Awesome. It's a good one.
That is awesome. Yeah. I've talked about it a few times. Wrapping up, Leaders Eat Last is a great one. Man, I just finishing up Ben Horowitz's new book called What You Do Is Who You Are, how to design and build the culture within your organization. And he's really more focused on virtues instead of values, and what you do, what you focus on. Your culture has to be, all your culture is a collection of your people, but what you have to focus on, it's virtues that drive action. It's not it's not a I had it written down right here. I want to get this right, because it was really powerful. It was one of the things that made me kind of really think about virtues must be based on action rather than beliefs. So that's what you want to focus on. You want to focus on the things that you aspire to, or that you want to embody, that drives action. And he gives great examples. He tells a bunch of stories over time and history. And man, it's Ben Horowitz, right? I mean, he wrote our top, it's one of the top 3 books of all time on our favorites. The Hard Thing About Hard Things. Any of you guys think you're going through challenges, you're having a rough go of it, a rough start, Hard Thing About Hard Things. You've got to get that book. I mean, it's like, I know exactly where this book is, right? At all times, The Hard Thing About Hard Things, Ben Horowitz. But his new one is really about building culture, but it's more so about how, really focusing in on, and it goes back to leadership as well, like what you were talking about, right? What you do is who you are. And it's really all about behavior and how you're behaving. And that's what drives the results, right? It's behavior as habits. What are the actions? What are we taking? And that's what we want. We want a culture. We want a collection of people that are focused on taking action. And so it's incredible. I'm just finishing, and I'm about to go back through it again. I mean, it is that powerful. And for anybody so the game changes, right? So for all of you guys to understand, the game changes when you get about 5 employees, 5 to 6 employees is about the time the game changes. And what I mean by the game changes from checkers to chess. And checkers, if you think about it, checkers pieces move only certain ways, right? They only do this. They're all the same pieces. All the pieces are the same, 2 different colors, all the same pieces. And they can only move in the same capacity, same way. Well, that's fine. They're interchangeable. Who gives a shit, right? That's kind of when you think about checkers. But when the game changes, it's the same damn board, right? Checkers and chess is the same board, same number of squares. It's the same board. The only thing that changes are the pieces. And when you get about to 5 or 6 employees, people become more specialized. And so think about that with your chess pieces. Chess pieces are specialized, right? They can, different pieces move different directions, and they have different meanings, and they have different values. And so that's what happens is we go from checkers to chess. When you get about 5 or 6, the game changes. And that's where a lot of people, sometimes they don't want to play chess. They want to keep playing checkers. And they're not willing to grow and get uncomfortable and make that leap to the new game. And if anybody is playing in that game or wants to play that game, man, you got to read Horowitz's new book. And you need to read both of his books, because you're going to start playing chess. You're going to have some hard things you need to figure out. And it's really he's a Horowitz is just amazing. But he wrote it's the business book Hard Thing About Hard Things is the current business book that was along the same lines as Andy Grove that wrote Only the Paranoid Survive, which is a phenomenal book. Only the Paranoid Survive. But Horowitz wrote The Hard Thing About Hard Things, which talks about things that you can't read in business books, like what's the right way to fire somebody. Go find me a business book that tells you about the right way to fire somebody. Quickly. Yes. Good luck. So he breaks it. That's why that book's phenomenal. But this one, like if you're building an organization, you want to build a team, you're playing chess, not checkers. You've got to read this one, man. It's a must.
Talking about culture, it just, one other thing that I can't remember what book this was, but it might've been I can't remember, but it was, just sharing my takeaway. So the story that was being told was this person who had bought this company, like a corporate raider type, Gordon Gekko type, goes and buys distressed companies and everything, go in and probably sell all the assets and fire everybody. Sometimes you turn them around. And so he goes in, and he had just purchased this company, this person they're referring to. Nobody really knew it. You know, none of the day-to-day employees did. It was like a factory place, manufacturing company. And so he goes into like the breakfast cafeteria or whatever the day after he bought it. Nobody knows who he is. It's like a meeting. It's their morning meeting thing. And he's just kind of watching everybody. Nobody knows he's the new owner or anything. And he's just watching everybody. And he notices, and he has an epiphany that day. And he notices that he's watching the employees hang out at the water cooler, at the coffee pot, sitting at the table, eating breakfast, and they're having a great time. They're joking, they're laughing, they're talking about last night's game or whatever, you know what I mean? They're having a good time. And then the bell rings and it's time to go to work. And he said, like on cue, immediately they all just, you know, got upset, and their demeanor changed, and their tonality and everything changed. And he's like, man, they were just a second ago having like a really good time and everything. Why can't we feel when we're working the way that they were feeling sitting right there at work and at the break room?
100%.
And you know, that's not something we're going to talk about all day today, but just ask yourself, how could you create a culture where people would have as much fun at your Christmas party, or, you know, where people can have as much fun at work every day as they do at your Christmas party, you know, it's just, you know, ask yourself that question, and you'll go down a bunch of different roads, all of which are good, whether they end up anywhere or not. Just to ask yourself that question and think about what that means for you and in your situation. It's deep.
Yeah. And it falls back on the leadership too. And how is the leadership behaving?
And in this case, it was all about leadership. When somebody in this company was asked, you know, give me the honest truth, the guy said, you know, if I tell you, am I still going to have a job tomorrow? You know what I mean? And the guy's like, yeah. And he's like, well, you know, it seems like you know, and this guy's basically complaints were management, where, you know, in this case, we make a right to go to the factory floor, and engineers and whoever else make a left to go to the offices. And we're treated differently just because we go over here and make a right to the factory floor. And because these guys sit in offices, you know, those guys in offices are on a salary. They can get up and call their wife or get a soda anytime they want. You make me punch a clock every time. And if I got to go take a pee, I got to check with somebody and get allowed. And so the management that trickled down and had the bad morale and the culture for all those people was the result of everything. You know what I mean? And, but, you know, I mean, talk about ISAs, that happens all the time. The ISA, piddly ass ISA, just the person who makes some cold calls, you know what I mean? And a lot of times they're not treated with the same level of respect as the agent who's closing the appointments, who would not have had the appointments, though, without the ISA.
Yeah. There are no business problems. There's only leadership problems. Everything can be distilled down to a leadership problem.
So, man, in the last couple minutes, you know, what I wanted to start to do on some of these things is we've got another Expert Advisor Boot Camp coming up March 31st, right?
30th, 31st, and April 1st. So those 3 days.
And somebody on our team, if you guys are watching and you're in our database, if we're doing our job, somebody's trying to reach out to you to get to know you a little bit better and see how we can help. And so if you get a call and you're interested in coming to boot camp, be sure and let them know and get you a special ticket. And you can also go to kinderreese.com and you can find the events tab, and be sure and get your ticket reserved for this one on March 31st. There'll probably be 100 people, maybe more. But one of the things you get is this big old Expert Advisor Bootcamp workbook, and there are a whole bunch of priceless information in here, including exact scripts for your listing presentation, the exact buyer appointment process, everything that you could possibly want to know, whether you're a brand new agent or you're somebody who's doing hundreds, 500 transactions, whatever. But in the back, there's a resource tab, and there's a bunch of stuff that we don't even go through all the time at boot camp, depending on what time allows. And I wanted to start kind of sharing what some of these things are, and having you walk through it, and people can replicate these. And if you want the actual document that we're going to kind of walk through, just send a message in the comments and we'll be sure and get it to you. But today, man, Kitchens, I want you to walk through. So you see this top in 6 minutes. You remember that? I'm going to share my
5 and 6 minutes. Yeah. It's, I think we snatched that away from, I think we picked up that nugget from Chet Holmes.
And so I've got it on my screen here. Everybody can see it. Just walk through this and explain, how I would fill this out effectively and what I should get from doing so.
Yeah, it gives you clarity on what you need to take action on for the day. And, for me, I do the same format. I just do it a little bit differently. I don't do it on this form. I actually print my calendar for the day from Google Calendar, and I do the same. I do everything that's here. I do it on my calendar, and you just kind of go through, spend a few minutes. What are your tops, right? And if you follow a Sunday planning process and you get real clear on your MVPs, most valuable priorities, that would fall kind of in your top 5. And right there, what you want to do is you want to update what are your priorities? What are your quarterly priorities? What are your top 3? If you have 2, if you have 4, whatever, get those on there. What are your key priorities? And it could be at hire for something, new marketing campaign, testimonial, follow-up campaign, starting handwritten, process, whatever it is, right? Whatever your priorities are as you go through the strategic planning process, you get those on there. You're looking at them every damn day, because the biggest mistake that most agents make when they go through and they go through the strategic planning process, they get clear on their priorities, they write them on a piece of paper and then they put them in the drawer and they don't look at them again. And they're off in fairyland chasing squirrels. And it's like, well, what are your priorities? That's what you focus on. You did the work to get clear on the priorities. Why the hell you want to go chasing shiny objects? What's the priority? Stay focused on it. Mm-hmm. And then your tops should align to that. And then the amount of time that's going to take to accomplish those things. The key is once you have those tops for the day, you've got to get them in the calendar. You've got to get them into the calendar. So what we did from a team perspective is that they would have this, but we would also want them to print up their calendar for the day. So we wanted to make sure that their top 5 was assigned and into the calendar for the day. The details matter. Anybody that ever tells you details don't matter, get away from them, because they're full of shit. Details matter. So you have to get clear. What are the details, the amount of time, get it in the calendar. And then you obviously want to do the hard things first. And then down on the bottom, use your gotta minutes, right? So like yesterday, I needed to get somebody on the calendar. I needed to schedule a haircut. I needed to, I needed to find a couple different hotels, locations. Those are all gotta minutes. Those are things that you're not going to assign into the calendar. But what happens, and it never fails, even for any of us, a client might be running late, or they canceled their appointment. What a lot of people do, if they're not clear on what are a couple things that they need to jump to, they're going to go down the social media rabbit hole and get lost and lose that time that's non-productive. But if you have a client that's running late or they canceled their appointment, what you can do now is jump into your gotta minutes, right? So like I've got like 4 gotta minute things here on my calendar that something gets happened, a client's running late, or a client needs to reschedule for later this afternoon. I'm not going to squirrel. I'm going to jump into my gotta minutes and I'm going to start knocking those things out. So this is just a really good, document that will help you get really clear and really intentional on what you need to accomplish for the day.
Yeah, man. And so the gotta minutes is good. Eat that frog. So eat that frog. We hear that a lot. For anybody who doesn't know, what's that mean when we say eat that frog?
Yeah, man. It's, Brian Tracy, it's eat, the thing that you don't like doing, do it and do it first. And the reason that we want to do those things first is because that's when our willpower is the highest. All willpower is energy, and energy, as the day goes on and our energy gets depleted, our willpower lessens, and we're not as likely to do the hard things, the difficult things, the things that we don't want to do. So that's why we say, man, hit your prospecting first thing in the morning, right? Willpower is the highest. You're having the likelihood that you're going to do it. And so that's why, eat that frog and do the things early. And 2, man, it's a victory, right? No matter what happens the rest of the day, man, you got a victory for the day. Today was a win. No matter what happens, you could have failure rest of the day, but guess what? Today was still a win. I have a victory. I got that thing done. Touch it once, and then, will it hurt me to throw it away? Those are just a couple things to keep in mind when you're going through stuff, going through emails, going through a lot of things, right? Only touch it once, and then, delete that shit if it doesn't matter.
Yeah, don't be afraid to delete it, right? Just delete it. And going back to, eating the frog, I think another, like you said, it gets a victory. It affects every other thing that you'll do. Like, you know what I mean? You'll succeed on the other things because you did that first.
Right.
Like if you start the day off prospecting and then you start talking about business and you start pitching and you start, using your mouthpiece, as I used to say, man, once you get it going, you're in the zone. Anything I do later, if I meet somebody face to face or no matter what it is, I'm already warmed up in the zone mentally. I'm all fired up because I've knocked out some of the big things, which goes back to that chemical release. You knock out that big frog. If you eat that big frog, there's a big release of dopamine that you get, and that's going to fire you up to go on and do the next thing.
Right.
And you just start to, you feel like you accomplished a lot. And then the next task, whatever that is, you bring that feeling of accomplishment to the table when you're going to do that next task. We've all had that day where you're like, man, I crushed it today. I guarantee you started something you did first thing, set the pace for that day that you crushed. 100%. Nobody started at 2 p.m. and said, I crushed today. Right? Nobody started at 2 and at the end of the day said, man, I crushed it today. Or maybe they did, but they were up a long time, or they had a clear list of what they needed to get done. But I think you get my point there. Man, so we'll keep going through these things. This top 5 in 6 minutes, like Kitchen said, you build it out on your calendar, print it out. To me, that's super important, having it printed out and making it part of the daily routine. When I show up and I get my coffee or whatever it is, one of the first things I do every day would be to print that out. For me, that would work because I like having a piece of paper, and I'm a little old school still.
Cool.
But I was buying a new planner the other day for 2020, and I was like, I always buy this shit, and you can get the apps on your phone and stuff, and I got a nice phone, and I try to get into using those things, but there's still just nothing like the planner for me. I got a running planner too, a running journal planner that I got that we log everything. I mean, I do that already in the Map My Run, but still, I got to have the paper.
Right. That's the way it matters. That's awesome.
So everybody will get this paper too if y'all come to boot camp, and if you want that document, top 5 in 6 minutes, drop a note in the credits. Man, we work with agents side by side on all of this stuff. And if you want to learn more about how we can help you this year, go to kinderreescoaching.com and check out some of the information we have there about our coaching program. And I can guarantee you that if you put forth the effort, then there's absolutely no way you can avoid the success. Great episode, Kitchen.
Awesome, brother. Appreciate you. You guys get after it. If you're listening to this, just kicking off the new year. So make sure you got things dialed in, and commit, and let's execute.
Let's execute, and go check out kinderreescoaching.com. We'll see you next time on the Growth Guys podcast.
See you, brother. Appreciate you guys.
To find out how to build a 7-figure real estate business in 3 years or less, go to kinderreescoaching.com. You've been listening to the Growth Guys podcast. If you want us to help you grow your real estate business, go to kinderreescoaching.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the Growth Guys podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast fix to get new, fresh weekly episodes. Catch you next time on the Growth Guys podcast.